the group evaluation is to provide the speaker with the maximum amount of feedback from the audience, because as we know, the feedback is what helps us grow and improve as a speaker. And we all know one another pretty well and we're comfortable with one another, so we're able to give honest, open and effective feedback so that we can take it on board if we choose so and improve for our next speech. So that is really the purpose of the group evaluation. Now the role of the group evaluator is that of a facilitator. And really the term facilitated evaluation would better describe the purpose, but that's too much of a mouthful. So we call it the group evaluation. But as you all know, the role of the facilitator is to provide the audience with the objectives, which in this case is to provide maximum feedback, and then to guide the audience in meeting those objectives. And one of the key things with the group evaluation is that the evaluator does not do most of the talking. And Pascal demonstrated that very well. He tried so hard tonight because Pascal loves to talk a lot, and he got the audience talking, which is the idea. So it is not a usual evaluation of 2 to 3 minutes and then asking the audience for a few comments. You are facilitating and you are trying to get for your speaker the maximum number of comments and feedback, both commendations and recommendations, that you can. So of course with anything that's done well, it involves planning. So a critical success factor for the group evaluation is planning. Now put your hand up if you're guilty of being an evaluator, rocking up at the Toastmasters meeting 2 minutes before the call to order, saying to your speaker, "Where's your book? What's your project?" Thank you, Larry, for being honest. Well done, Larry. We've all done it. But in order to be an effective evaluator, you need to plan. And we've seen some excellent planning in today's meeting. So how you can plan? First of all, make contact with your speaker. Find out what award they're working on, what project, what manual they're working on. What is it that they would like you as an evaluator to specifically look out for? And of course, what are the objectives of that particular project? If you haven't got the book yourself, you'll need to either get the objectives from the web or you'll need to ask your speaker to email you the objectives. So at the very minimum, there is a dialogue, email's fine, between the speaker and the evaluator before the meeting. Okay, now those two things should happen even in your home clubs where you do the normal evaluation. That's the gold standard. That should be what happens. Usually it doesn't, but it should. And in addition, in our group situation at this club, what is great is if the evaluator then sends out those objectives to the rest of the club, so that you've also got an idea before you come along to the meeting, what is it that the speaker would like to achieve tonight. And Charles has done that. For those of you that read your email, you would have seen that you had a set of objectives so that you knew before you came what it was, what it is that I'm trying to achieve. And of course, all this good planning really does rely on the fact that the VPE has done the scheduling in advance, that the Toastmaster has confirmed with everybody, that the speakers have got back to the Toastmasters with their projects and with their titles. So we're really all a team to make sure that this happens. But if you want to get the maximum amount of feedback in order to grow with your speeches, then that's the ideal. So moving on to the actual group evaluation, I do have handouts of how the evaluation should be done in this particular format, and I will leave those for you to take away today, and we'll also put them on the web. So when you arrive at the meeting, before the speaker is introduced, you stand up and you state the objectives again for the benefit of the audience. You can read them directly from the book, which is pretty boring, or you can paraphrase the objectives, and you can also bring in something that the speaker may or may not have asked you to look out for. While the speaker is speaking, you will then be taking notes. When it's your turn to come up, for the first minute, minute and a half, you briefly recap on the objectives and you state, in your opinion, whether you thought the speaker met those objectives. Now, who has ever told a speaker that they haven't met the objectives? Good, because it's okay to do so. Toastmasters is not, it's a no-fail system, but you know, none of us really appreciate the warm fuzzy stuff that we get meeting after meeting when we're told that it was all wonderful and we met the objectives. It's okay to tell your speakers that they met the objectives in part, or they didn't meet the objectives. That's fine to do so, and I think, again, we should all be comfortable doing so. Then you move on to the commendation. Now, you've been taking notes throughout the speaker's speech and you've written down a couple of commendations. You kick off the evaluation by providing just one. Now, it's best not to state the obvious one, because someone in the audience who may have been wanting to put their hand up first possibly had that one. So you start with one commendation and then you open to the floor pretty soon after, like Pascal did today. And your role as facilitator is to get as many different types of feedback from as many people as possible. And if people are reluctant to put their hand up, then you as the facilitator need to say, we haven't heard from the back table. Larry, what are you thinking? We haven't heard much from the people on the left. Tease it out of them. If they're really reluctant, you know, we're all friends, pick on people. Hit them, what do you think? Do you think that Kerry met her objectives to entertain tonight? And Pascal also did a little bit of that. Sometimes we find that getting on towards the end of the evening, people are a little bit tired and the hands stop going up. But again, evaluators don't fall into the trap of then doing all the speaking. Try and tease it out of the audience. Again, when you're moving on to the recommendations, you do the same thing. And obviously we want more time spent on the recommendations or suggestions for improvement. When the red light goes on, you need to summarise and wrap up. So you need to have remembered where the audience or what the overall comments were that you got in the evaluation from the audience, just to wrap up. So in summary, the group evaluation is a led, facilitated evaluation so that we can all get the maximum amount of feedback.